ho, 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 baby. What is up, everyone? It is 12:17 in the morning. So, I'm going to officially call this Victory Tuesday. Happy Victory Tuesday. The Baltimore Ravens have beat the Los Angeles Chargers 30-23 on Monday Night Football. I just got to, before we even get into this, British Raven. Nick, thank you so much for just being here. It is currently 5:18 in the morning, I believe, Nick. So over across the pond, Nick is still up partying at 5:18 in the morning, celebrating a little Victory Tuesday. Baltimore Ravens, as I said, win over the Los Angeles Chargers 30-23. I'm Zach Bollinger. This is Kevin and Zach React. Kevin Ostreicher, my co-host, will be with us shortly. I think we'll see. Anyone have a read on if he's still live? Anyone know if he's still live for Locked On Ravens? If so, then he'll be on after that. But let's talk about this game. The big headline, everyone talking about it. John Harbaugh, Jim Harbaugh, the Harbaugh. John Harbaugh, big brother. Listen, big brother always wins, and that's what John Harbaugh has done again. 3-0. 3-0 against his younger brother, Jim. Obviously, one of them being the Super Bowl, where the Ravens beat the 49ers. But little less on the line here than the Super Bowl, but the Ravens still come away with the win. Honestly, one of those games that it felt like a get-right game. And if you watch the Ryan Ripken show before this, pregame show, we had call-ins. We actually talked to a lot of people about this, and I believe it was K-Mac. So if K-Mac, if you're in the chat or watching this later, K-Mac talked about it, saying it felt sort of like a get-right game for the Ravens. They're going to come out strong, kind of put together a complete game, offense, defense, special teams. And in all honesty, besides the first drive for the Chargers, besides that last drive where you're kind of in prevent, the flag, the pass interference flag at the end kind of gives them more points. Little iffy call on Jalen Armour-Davis there, but hits the over if you're into that. But besides that first drive for the defense, wasn't great. The offense in the first two drives weren't incredible. Man, I'm telling you guys right now, this was probably one of the more complete wins we've seen from the Baltimore Ravens probably this year. It's up there with the Denver game. I think obviously you can look at games like the Bills game until sort of that little weird time during the third. You can look towards the Cowboys game till the end, Tampa till the end. But overall, just an incredible game by all sides of the ball, all three sides. Let's start with the main story. What did we ask? What did we ask? Well, throughout this week, we kind of talked about, I guess, one big overarching theme. And it's been the overarching theme in pretty much every single Baltimore Ravens loss. Will they or will they not feed King Henry? And tonight we found that answer. We found that answer in spades. Joe puts it perfectly here. Run the damn football. And they did it with Derrick Henry 24 times. That's right. They handed the rock to the king 24 times. What did he do with it? All he did was take it 140 yards. Didn't get a touchdown, so his streak of touchdowns in every game ends at 11. He had one called back that the Ravens, Lamar, then scored on the next play. So, overall, the run game. Let's talk about it. Derrick Henry, as I just said, 24 carries for 140 yards. Justice Hill, man. What you say about Justice Hill? Steve putting it up there. 4 carries, 55 yards, including a 51-yard house call. House call by Mr. Unsung Hero himself. Listen, Justice Hill, I was never the biggest Justice Hill fan before this year. Was never really a guy who I was like, okay, we need to get Justice Hill in the game. We need to get Justice Hill more involved. Thought he was a good third running back, a good special teams guy. Justice Hill this year has proven to be one of the most valuable players on the Ravens. Whether it's his pass pro, whether it's running the ball, it's in the screen game because he also got 2 receptions for 7 yards with his long being a 9-yard screen pass. Justice Hill, whenever Justice Hill is getting the ball, even when he's not getting the ball, when he's asked to do a job, I tweeted this out, Justice Hill is the definition of a guy who just simply gets his job done. And it doesn't matter what the job is. Hey, we need you to go chip block this end. Hey, we need you to go, chip and screen. We need you to catch a screen pass. We need you to run outside. We need you to run up the middle. We need you to go one-on-one with Chris Jones, game on the line. Justice Hill is simply getting it done. And Joe, yes, I am. Justice Hill will get his 3-touchdown game. I have to just pick the game. I have to pick it well, pick my spots. But Justice Hill 3-touchdown bet last year will go down in infamy. We almost had it. He didn't have a single catch or a single touchdown. But yeah, Lamar Jackson, 8 carries for 15 yards. Obviously, that gets swayed a little bit with the the kneels at the end. I think he lost like 3 yards there. Mark Andrews, the 1 carry for 2 yards. And we're going to get into kind of the 4th down play calls, which is why Mark Andrews has a singular carry for 2 yards. But let's go into the passing game. Lamar Jackson, 16 of 22, 177 yards, 126.5 passer rating. So not the flashy Lamar Jackson, we put up 1,000,000 yards game. Had 3 total touchdowns for Lamar. Got the job done. Had 126.5 passer rating, and any single time a quarterback does that, you're going to take it. Loved how they distributed. 5 receptions for Zay Flowers goes for 62 yards. You then have Mark Andrews, 5 catches, 44 yards, and that touchdown, which let's talk about this real quick. 1, that's a big man touchdown. That is, Lamar put it near Mark Andrews and said, hey, Mark, try to catch it. And Mark Andrews just went and made a damn play. Mark Andrews just went out there and made a damn play, but that's not what I want to talk about. I got to take a sip of water to even fathom this. Do you know how much of a hater you have to be to call that an incompletion? Like, that guy clearly is going against Mark Andrews in some sort of fantasy league because there was nothing about that said incomplete. Like, it wasn't like, from this angle, maybe he didn't get both feet in. Knee in. Thigh in, butt in. I really, yeah. Insane levels. And Pocket Watch, going live after every single Ravens and Orioles game. So, yeah, we've been doing this. We actually, real fast, plug we got 26 people watching this. We are starting to release just non-live videos. If you saw on the channel today, we talked about the Orioles coaching staff and kind of just what our thoughts are on that. We have a video coming out tomorrow about Elias Diaz, the catcher from the Padres who play with Colorado, and the Orioles' interest with him. So we'll start doing about 5 to 10 minute videos that are pre-recorded. That will be out on the channel throughout. So we're going to keep doing that. But yeah, if there's big news happening, if, after every game, we are going to be live. If stuff happens, we're going to be live. So don't worry about that. But we are adding some pre-recorded stuff just in case we want to do that. Yeah. And yeah, Joe, I know, Joe, it throws people off, but we had to, we decided that if we're not going to have time to do a full live and we only have a few minutes, we just want to get stuff out there so we can all talk about it. So Going back down, Rashad Bateman, 2 receptions for 43 yards. That touchdown play from Lamar Jackson to Rashad Bateman was absolutely gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. Rashad Bateman, man, he gets a lot of crap. He's had some costly drops at times. I understand that. Everyone points to the Browns game. You want to point to Lamar's interception, his first one of the year against the Raiders, off of Rashad's hands. I get all that. But at the same time, you cannot deny the fact that Rashad Bateman has absolutely stepped up when needed. Absolutely stepped up when needed. He seems to really be taking over that number 2 role very nicely. Tylan Wallace, I'm just going to call it, he's just like Justice Hill. Whenever something is needed, a play is needed, a big time moment, just something, he's there. 1 reception for 15 yards. That was actually immediately after a penalty that pushed the Ravens behind the chains. They go from, I believe it was going to be like a 2nd and 5 to suddenly it's 1st and 19. Boom, 15 yards. Back on track. Birds nest. Yeah, I saw Kyle Hamilton saying he's ready for the Eagles. Ready for the Eagles. And I also love now, especially after the Ravens get the win, and underappreciated part of this, they got the win without Roquan. And we'll talk about this. Maybe Kevin hopefully can get on the stream for this part, because I want to talk about the defense when we talk about the defense, because not only was it a massive win and a massive win without Roquan, we saw some guys like Chris Board, like Malik Harrison at times against the run, really step up. So I'm loving it. I'm absolutely loving what we're seeing from this defense. We're going to get into the defense in a minute. We'll get into the defense in a minute. Don't worry. We just want to finish up a little bit on the wide receiver, or just mostly the offense. But the defense, man, don't sleep on this defense. The defense is starting to figure it out. Defense is starting to figure it out. Don't sleep. All right. Justice Hill, we said the 2 receptions for 7 yards. Charlie Kolar gets the 1 reception for 6 yards. Overall, it just felt like the offense could kind of, especially in the second half, do whatever they wanted. You know, that was really the big, I don't want to say deciding factor, because obviously if you dominate, you're most likely going to win. But the biggest shift was probably about halfway through the second quarter. The Ravens, it just clicked. And they were like, listen, Chargers, you're not getting in the end zone again. They did at the end, obviously, after the penalties, kind of in dead time. But the defense stepped up. And then the offense, man, this offense, this is what I wanted to talk about. Because the offense was humming. The offense was doing what they wanted. Whatever they needed to do, they got done. And now love him or hate him. Love him or hate him, because I know the feelings for John Harbaugh go all across the radar. Some people think he's the worst thing to ever happen to the franchise. Some people think he's still the savior. Listen, love him or hate him, John Harbaugh had 3 of the gutsiest 4th down calls, decisions that you will have. The dude was backed up on his own 15-yard line, down 3 with 2 minutes left in the second quarter. Goes for it, gets it, turns into 7 points. The second half, we're driving again. 4th down. Boom. Gets it. Goes, gets 7. Now, I know people are going to point to the one risk he took that didn't pay off was going for 2, up 7. After we were up 1, scored a touchdown to make it up 7. I know a lot of people are like, why do you not just kick the extra point there, make it 8? Listen, I understand. I understand, because it didn't work. People are going to it's going to get backlash. I like that call. I was arguing with my brother. You know, me and my brother we don't get to watch games together often. This was our first game together watching, and this year. So like we had our argument. He said, don't, just kick it. I'm on team. I like going to make it 2 possessions. I like going to make it 2 possessions. And I got to stop because, Patrick, you are so right. Christian Welch, I can't leave our boy out because he also stepped up massively, getting some big reps in at middle linebacker. All the boys that stepped in, Welch, Board, Harrison, Simpson, all of them deserve a massive round of applause because when the team needed them the most, they stepped up. So real fast back to the 2-point conversion. Let me know in the chat. Are you team go for 2 or team kick it to make an 8-point game? Because the way that game was going, and yeah, versus it was off Zay's hand. So that makes it a little bit harder to swallow. The way that game was going, I think you go to make it a 2-possession game. I know it doesn't affect the game in the long run. Obviously, they win either way. But I think go for 2 because if you get that, you get a 9-point lead. It's 2 possessions. Now you have completely taken over. And Bird's Nest, I know you say this kind of half joking. I think this played a factor into how John coached. Like John, people always say John Harbaugh gets out coached by a lot. There's only, maybe it's just Harbaugh can out coach another Harbaugh. Because it felt like John was doing stuff that John does not normally do. And I think part of it was because old bro was sitting across the other side. I would not be surprised if part of the reason that he was so aggressive today was because across the other side was little brother Jim. So I like going for 2 there. I think just about to, I disagree. I like this. I know people are really upset with the roll out to the right, it kind of leaves you with just half the field. One, with the way Lamar's legs is, I'm not too concerned about that. I kind of like this call. It was off Zay's hands. I think, I would take this play call a million times out of a million over, hey, hike it and let's just see if Lamar can beat the guy to the pylon. So last one I'm going to agree with, but I like this recent one. I'm not too upset with that one. I kind of like the rollout with Lamar. And this Faalele, oh my goodness. The pull from Faalele, that is a big man. And when he is rolling and he is going at that speed, there are not many people that are gonna get out of his way. So he is, and Steve, he is taking leaps and bounds. It's really impressive. I'm really happy with how we're seeing him. And the whole thing is you got Derrick Henry for those situations. Like, you get Derrick Henry for, what we've all been talking about. When it's been 3rd and short and they're throwing it and not getting it. It's been 4th down and they're running pitches outside. You got Derrick Henry to run the ball up the middle to say, hey, our running back is bigger, faster, stronger than your most physical D lineman. Even if you don't get a great push, even if you don't get it all, you don't have the perfect play, 9 times out of 10, Derrick Henry's at least going forward. 9 times out of 10, Derrick Henry's at least getting a yard. So that's why you got Derrick Henry. And actually, I got to say, the man has perfect timing. I said I was hoping Kevin would come on to talk a little bit more about the defense. And legitimately, as I was about to end the segment to then walk over to the defense, he's a man of the people. Man of the people, Kevin Ostreicher. You're good, man. You're good. How are we feeling after that game?
Man, I don't. Timing is a crazy thing.
It is.
I guess we just have it down. We just have it down. But yeah, feeling wise, physically, not so great with everything I'm going through, flu, sickness wise. But yeah, hey, a Ravens win cures a lot of that, at least temporarily. So I'm happy Baltimore got the job done. Box score, definitely the Ravens won this game by a wider margin than the box score indicates. But
yeah.
I think, the vibes over on Locked On Ravens were good. I think a lot of people were excited, and we had, I don't know if you caught any of it, Zach, but a lot of our conversation, especially in the second part of the show, we talked about playoffs and kind of how seeding works with this. But Ravens got the job done, and Khalil Mack with a little, hey, I want to play this team again. Maybe they'll see each other again. Who knows? But that's a little spicy talk coming after the game.
Yeah. Little spicy talk. And before we get into it, I do want to say, before we get because I probably should have talked about this earlier. I do feel for J.K. Dobbins so much. Obviously, it impacted the game, but I know this game meant a lot. And for him to get injured in this game of all games.
Is there a diagnosis?
No, but I just saw he was, injured and obviously never returned.
Okay.
It just, at the moment, you hate to see that because you do want to root for guys like that. Not against the Ravens, but you wanted to see him still be successful. Kevin, talked a little bit. Obviously, I'll get your opinion before we move on to the defense. 24 carries for Derrick Henry. Obviously, he doesn't get the touchdown. Doesn't get the touchdown because, of course, he gets called back. But just overall thoughts on kind of how the offense went before we move on to the defense.
Yeah, well, just one thing before we do that.
Yeah.
I had a question. We have Pocket Watch one.
Nice.
1 second. Had a question here. Thank you. I'll be here all day. Supers and paid subscriptions, super chats. We had a weird thing go on with that where it was the same course for a while. I literally 5 seconds ago just turned back on super chats and everything. So if you refresh your stream, you refresh your page, you hop out, you hop back in, they should be back enabled. And then in terms of memberships, we're still trying to devise a plan for that. But I did just, I believe, put supers back in and we should be all good to go with that. So obviously that highlights messages that we'll be guaranteed to see, and we'll talk about those. So thank you for bringing that up, Pocket Watch, because I thought we already had them re-enabled, but we didn't.
We did? Oh, okay.
We didn't. So I turned all that back on for us. But to the defensive side of the ball, I think it's very positive steps in the right direction. Because I think when you talk about what I had said all week on Locked On Ravens, at least, was look, this Chargers offense is so much better than Pittsburgh's offense. So what you want to see is maybe it won't be as good of a game for the Ravens on the defensive side of the ball. But it ended up, in my opinion, being almost a better game in multiple different aspects because, look, and a lot of people were pretty harsh on Malik Harrison early in that game. Yeah. And rightfully so. He had a couple of really tough plays early on, missed a couple of big plays.
Everyone's pointing to the JK one. I know. That was
there were a few. There was the one where he missed the fit.
Oh, well, yeah.
And then the one where he got juked at. But JK historically owns Malik. There are clips from him on the Ravens in joint practices, just balling out on him. But by the end of the game, he was the best player on that defense. He and Chris Board, this is about next man up, right? This is about who can step up and perform when your guys aren't there. And Roquan is out. You go linebacker by committee, and I thought that those two played great football. I thought that Nate Wiggins played great. But the biggest thing to me, Zach, if we're being honest, that Ravens defensive front had the Chargers offensive line in hell. Absolute hell.
Yeah.
Adafe Owe was getting held every single play. Kaveh Noy was getting held every single play. Travis Jones was wreaking havoc. Even Brent Urban was getting pressure. Namdi Madubuike was going off. You saw everybody get involved on that. And Justin Herbert made plays. He stepped up in the pocket. He felt the pressure. But the Ravens used blitzes with their corners effectively, like with Brandon Stevens. Put him in the box more, by the way. I would love to see him in that nickel role a little bit more. I think that might be might be the sweet spot for sure. But the trench is bad. I mean, the Ravens offensive line, I thought, protected Lamar very well. And part of that is obviously the Lamar Jackson tax of like he's going to get out of some sacks and like
the Kolar 6-yard throw with any other quarterback is lost to 7.
Unreal. Yeah, but to me, we talked a lot about this Ravens pass rush. We talked a lot about them over the past month or two about, they need to be more consistent, need to generate more pressure. And look, the Chargers have really good outside guys. Joe Alt, Rashawn Slater, those are two really good tackles. Now, the interior of that Chargers offensive line is not very good. Bradley Bozeman's had a pretty tough year. Pipkin has been pretty bad, and Zion Johnson's been pretty bad for a first rounder. Yeah. But you do what you're supposed to do, right? You do what you're supposed to do. And to me, I thought that was one of the big points in the game, especially when Herbert started to feel the pressure. I thought he felt the pressure well, but it wasn't perfect. And sure, the Ravens got helped out with some drops and some missed reads by Justin Herbert too, which again, thank you to the Chargers. We'll send a gift basket over to LA for Quentin Johnston over Zay Flowers. Because I personally think that the Ravens would have taken Quentin Johnston if Zay was off the board.
And he's the prototypical Ravens pick. Like there was a mix-up there was a mix-up in the timelines. This wasn't supposed to happen. We
You
weren't
know what?
supposed to
Yeah,
get
a rip in the time-space continuum.
Yeah,
Like,
we weren't like that. Something messed up. We were not supposed to be the team that got Zay Flowers. That was not supposed to happen. We were destined for Quentin Johnston and for what happened today to happen every single game. I did feel bad for Quentin at the end. That was tough. But I really kind of like you talked about, and we'll get to a little bit. I see we have some super chats and comments we'll I get to, but yeah, defense stepped up. I thought last week we talked about no touchdowns given up against the Steelers, but me and you both agreed. Yeah, the Steelers offense isn't impressive. Yeah, they get the job done, they make their timely plays, and they won. They beat the Ravens, but we weren't sitting there coming away going, hey, this was the defense's big get back game. Now they're good. We said, hey, the next 2 weeks against the Chargers and against the Eagles are going to be their big litmus tests. Chargers come out, very good offense. They held them, completely held them, besides the first drive where the Chargers went down the field. And really it looked like, oh boy, it's another Lamar's got to put on the cape every drive to win. You go out there and they shut them down up until the final, garbage time. So, and I brought this up before you got on. Now, hindsight, we get to look back at the best case scenario. Not only did you win a game without Roquan Smith against a team that you thought was really going to be hurt by not having Roquan Smith, but you got to see what Chris Board, what Christian Welch, what Malik Harrison, what those guys can do in a more expanded role. You got more reps. And Karen talking about, because we talked about it today, Kevin, no fan base obsesses with the green dot more than the Baltimore Ravens fan base. Kyle Hamilton gets the green dot. All coincidence, maybe so, but I do believe that this defense, they were looking a little different today. I like Tre'Davious White. I know he had the one call, but I thought for the most part, he's looking better each game. Overall, though, I liked what we saw from the defense. I'm excited.
Yeah. And I think if we see another performance like this against the Eagles, which if I'm being honest with you, I think that's going to be just an offensive slugfest. Like,
oh yeah, there's nothing about
we
it.
We have to temper expectations because in reality, the Steelers' offense is absolutely awful. The Chargers' offense, they lost their best weapon in J.K. and their receivers are not that great. And Ladd McConkey was playing hurt. But you do what you're supposed to do. That's the thing. You do what you're supposed to do. If not then when? That's the thing. That's why I'm proud of the group. Because if they went out there and laid duds against the Steelers and laid a dud against the Chargers, we'd be talking about, okay, this defense can't do anything and they can't show up when even they're supposed to against bad teams or against bad offenses or offenses don't have weapons. Like, why would we expect them to show up against an Eagles team? I have more confidence in them showing up now against the Eagles. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but
you without doubt feel more confident.
Yeah. I mean, it's an exciting step. And I was going to say this on the live with us earlier today, but I just think we got lost in conversation. I think we were too busy talking about Thanksgiving sides, which was like a 30-minute segment for us.
A little bit. Took over a little bit.
Yeah. But what I was going to say is, can you imagine looking your past self in the face on August 31st and telling your past self the way this secondary looks and what has happened in this secondary through 12 weeks? If you looked yourself in the face and you said, hey, past Kevin, past Zach, past whoever, guess what? Marcus Williams no longer plays.
Ben.
He's not playing. And if I'm my past self, oh darn, I'm sorry, he got injured again. Oh no.
Ben.
That $70 million man was on the bench because he's bad now. By the way, Eddie Jackson, that guy we thought, oh, maybe he could resurrect his career. He was so bad, he's cut. He's gone.
He was so bad replacing a bad Marcus Williams that they thought he had to get off the team.
Yeah. And Trey White, who was, he was with the Rams, the Ravens traded for him. And people are probably saying, oh, wow, they traded for a serviceable corner. He must have been really good in Los Angeles, right? No.
They were going to cut him.
They traded for him as depth, but they have to play him because, well, he and Brandon Stevens are rotating in, and you're probably thinking your pass off, oh, well, they like playing those rotations. They must be trading off and playing really well together, right? Well, Brandon Stevens has had a pretty tough season.
Yeah. Well, Brandon Stevens is the best corner in football until the ball's in the air.
Literally. So you talk about Marcus Williams, Eddie Jackson, and Brandon Stevens, 3 players that you thought were going to be major contributors. And really the only 2 guys you thought were going to have, or only 3 you thought were going to have real impacts that actually are Marlon Humphrey, Kyle Hamilton, and Nate Wiggins.
God, I love Nate Wiggins.
Those are the 3. Absolute dog, by the way. Absolute dog.
Nate Wiggins is going to be so good. He's going to be so good.
It's crazy how different the secondary looks, but this is just the way. When things aren't working, the difference, and I know we've talked about this, I've talked about this on Locked On Ravens, the difference between Ozzie Newsome and Eric DeCosta. I'm not saying either was wrong. Both have worked and do work. Ozzie Newsome's thing was more so, let's ride it out. Let's see what happens. Mm-hmm. Let's give it the year and then assess. And that worked. Ozzie was a great, all-time great general manager.
Yeah.
Eric DeCosta is a little more, hey, if it's not working, you're out of here.
Yeah.
We're going to find the solution, and we're not waiting. We can't afford to waste opportunities. You might like one strategy better than the other, or, figure, do they give up on guys too early under Eric DeCosta, or did they wait too long under Ozzie?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, both those guys had sound strategies that have worked in multiple different ways. And this is a prime example of the Eric DeCosta strategy. Is if it's not working, he's going to find something that does, or he's going to try like hell to do it. And I think you plug in Darius Washington, you plug in Trey White in a way, and you just move guys around a little bit. Yeah. And credit to the Ravens, because they couldn't have continued the way that they were, because the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. The Ravens didn't fall in that trap. For the last 2 weeks, it's been a much better product.
Much, much better. And, you can attribute it to, like you said, switching it up. Maybe you last week can attribute it to, hey, Steelers offense doesn't impress as many people like their numbers really say they should. But at the end of the day, the past 2 weeks, the Ravens are getting the job done on the defensive side of the ball. What is it? So only a single – okay, I'm taking out this garbage time PI thing, touchdown. Before the last drive, how many straight possessions was that for the Ravens defense without giving up a touchdown? I actually don't know the number. I probably could have looked that up. But it was to the point of this defense, 1 touchdown in probably 20-plus drives. The defense is starting to get it together. And the thing I love about them is it's no longer shit. They're past the 50. Here's a touchdown. They've got this classic bend, don't break attitude about them of, hey, we're going to fight and claw until you're physically in the end zone. They will stuff you at the 1. They will sit there and you get down to the 15 easily, but then you have to settle for a field goal. They're going to find ways. I've said it before. This defense, the big difference between this defense last year and this year is last year it felt like the defense made every play. It made every single play. Anytime a play was needed, the defense made it. They just made 5-6 plays a game that made you go, yep, that's game changing. This year, the defense is making the 1 play. They've been making the singular play when they need it the most. We're talking the Marlon Humphrey interception against the Bengals. We're talking the Kyle Van Noy strip sack against the Bills. In these bigger moments, both of those games, momentum's going the other way. The defense isn't like they're playing incredible. The Bills are driving, the Bengals are driving, but they find that singular play that you're able to then, help go and get a win. Because they're, even when they weren't playing well, they were finding single plays to help impact the game. So that was the biggest thing. Now it seems like over the past 2 weeks, they're getting bigger plays here and there. And it's really just more of a complete game than, okay, we're hoping for a single play to win.
Yeah. And look, you win and lose differently every year. No 2 seasons are the same. And I heard Troy Aikman on the broadcast. I don't know if you heard it, Zach, say that the Ravens defense barely lost any personnel this offseason. It was largely the same defense. He's like, oh, they lost a lot of coaches, but like, oh, they didn't really lose it. I'm like, are we really going to make that a narrative? Just throw out false information like this? Like just
real ball knowers know that Ronald Darby was one of the most tragic losses for this.
I actually have not heard his name all season.
I know,
maybe for better or for worse. I don't know. I don't know how he's doing. I'm actually now I have to look. I know Devin Duvernay is injured. We should just have a
Devin Duvernay has -1 yards on the year.
Yeah, he's been injured for most of the year, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know if Ronald Darby is okay. First tweet is the Vince Carter meme saying, "I just want Ronald Darby to have a normal game once before the season is over." So I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. Oh, here we go. Ronald Darby, 59 PFF grade.
So maybe Ronald Darby was not the real ball knowers know they could afford to lose Ronald Darby. I still say the biggest one's Clowney.
He hasn't really even been that good for them. I think it's Queen. I think it's Queen. Geno Stone has been objectively awful for the Bengals.
Yeah, I see people all the time.
They're gonna cut him this offseason.
Oh, people in Cincinnati want him gone. Yes,
they wanted him gone the first week.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, they're gonna. The only player that will probably stay on their team that they went to is probably Queen. Queen will stay, but other than that, I think everybody else will be cut. Well, Zeitler too. But
yeah, damn.
I mean, in reality, Zeitler was the biggest loss. But I mean, Falele has stepped up better than I thought he would.
Yeah, I'll still give it to Queen just because of how different the defense looks, and Mike McDaniel.
I know. When Calais was here, he used to quote tweet all my stuff, and now he's just in Miami. He's a good dude.
He's a really good dude. But this was such a big win, Kevin. The Ravens really needed this. You're now back. You have the same amount of wins as Pittsburgh. Talk about just the situation, complete 180 from 8 days ago. You're feeling absolutely awful. You lose that game to Pittsburgh. You look ahead. You're like, they got the Browns. We have the Chargers. The Chargers who are kicking ass. They're on fire right now. You're like, God dang it. They lose to the Browns. You beat the Chargers. And now suddenly you're sitting here as we are through 12 weeks. Ravens 8-4, Steelers 8-3. You got one more matchup with them. Steelers have a tough one. I'm telling you, I don't think the Steelers, this was worst case scenario for the Steelers because the Steelers have a really tough schedule.
I said it on Locked On Ravens. My bold prediction is the Ravens will win the North. Like I'm very confident they're going to win the North.
Now I am because listen, at Cincinnati, I think Cincinnati's going to run them. I think Cincinnati's a way better team than Pittsburgh.
That is a battle of just awful offense versus awful defense.
Yeah.
In Pittsburgh's offense versus Cincinnati's defense. It's two elite units in Cincinnati's offense and Pittsburgh's defense, and then two just god-awful units.
There's no way the Steelers win at – so here's the thing. Steelers got at Bengals. They're going to lose to the Bengals. They got home against the Browns. They'll beat them. There's no way they're losing twice. Yeah, although the Browns have owned them recently.
Yeah, well, I think they'll beat the Browns.
Then they got
– is it the Bengals again?
No, then they got the at Eagles.
They'll lose the Eagles again.
At Ravens. Home against the Chiefs.
They'll lose that. They're not winning.
Home against the Bengals.
No, they're not winning the North. They're not.
I agree, Riley. I agree. Riley, win the North by a game.
Yeah. And then if they can get the tiebreak, if the Ravens win and get the tiebreaker back to 500, I mean, there's no way that the Steelers win. There's no way. Ravens will win in the North. You heard it here first.
And then, I mean, legitimately, the biggest thing for the Ravens is they got to get past. If the Ravens can somehow beat the Eagles, I should say somehow, like it's an impossible.
Two good teams. Two
very good teams. You beat the Eagles, then you got the Giants home against the Steelers. See Riley saying Texans is possibly a trap, which is weird to say that because
I know Texans are. That's why. Well, I talked about this.
You felt like was like a prime, but now it does feel more of a trap game, like because of just the way they're playing.
Because I talked about this on Locked On Ravens. We had a conversation about whether you'd want the 2 or the 5 seed. And I said that this was such a massive game to win because if the Ravens don't win the North, they're essentially locked into the 5 seed because they have head-to-head over the Chargers, who I expect to lose some games going forward here. And that Houston team is locked into the 4, and Houston looks terrible.
Yeah.
That offensive line is awful. They're suffering some injuries. Stroud has hit a wall in a way. like I think Houston is very beatable. And like that's the dream to me. Like you want as many home playoff games. I know, and I talked about this too. People get skittish about the home playoff games because of what's happened in 2019 and 2024 or 2023 in terms of like losing is the one. Yeah. But you do want as many home playoff games as you can.
Yeah, you don't want to go on the road.
I don't think they're getting the 1 seed, especially if Kansas City continues to win games the way they are, which is very fickle. I don't think it'll hold up in the playoffs, but you can get the 2 here possibly because you have the head-to-head over Buffalo.
I tell you what, my biggest fear is though is getting the 2 and that Cincinnati's at 7.
I am so far off the Cincinnati in the playoffs train. I'm so far off.
Dude, I am so unfortunately like they have 11%, and I think it's like 90. Like I just their schedule, dude.
Denver's playing too well. Denver's Denver's the one and done, but Denver's playing too well to not make it.
But Liz, have you seen Denver's schedule?
I'm actually looking up right now.
Denver's got that's the biggest reason.
Browns, Colts, Chargers, Bengals, Chiefs. That's what's scaring you?
Bro, that they're not beating Bengals, Chiefs. So the only way they beat Chiefs
they will beat the Bengals. They will beat the Bengals. No. I mean, that's the path. If the Bengals
That's what I'm saying. Like they have to, that's gonna be the game, I think, I think they lose to the Browns.
The Broncos lose to the Browns?
Yes.
In Denver?
Mm-hmm.
I guess if you want the Jameis Monday Night Magic.
Well, that and the fact that I just think that the Browns match up well against them. And the fact that they can play physical and like they can their defense can mess with
I think Denver's defense is better than Pittsburgh's, which is so annoying because the Ravens can like blow out Denver, but then just be terrible against Pittsburgh. But
I'm still completely terrified of the Bengals. I just think that
I'm so far off. I'm scared of I'm not scared of the Dolphins from a Ravens perspective in terms of like they can't beat the Dolphins, but like I think the Bengals have a better shot at making the playoffs. I will give the Bengals the 3rd highest 7 seed odds behind the Broncos and the Dolphins. Bengals 3, Colts 4. That's my rank.
I'll give the Broncos the edge just because of simply how they're playing. But I just have this weird feeling that
aren't the Broncos like 4 games up on them, 3 games up on them?
The Bengals? No, aren't they? Aren't they just a single game?
No, it's not a single game.
Well, they did have a bye this week. Wait.
It's at least 2 games, if not 3.
Damn, it is a 3. Okay, well, Denver hasn't had their bye yet, but damn, I thought it was close.
Yeah, no. I'm telling you, I'm so far off the Cincinnati in the playoff stream.
I don't know, dude. They got I think they beat the Steelers. They'll beat the Cowboys. They have them, the Titans. Then they have the Bengals, or then they have the Browns at home. They could so easily win those 4, and now it's Broncos, Bengals on the 29th to decide.
Yeah, see, Rick is saying the Bengals are in your head, man. He's got to get them out. He's got to get them out.
Because I just think that offense, like, and I'm also just
the offense is great. The offense is
I'm
awesome.
also scared of the way we've beat them twice. Like in 2 could have lost those games. Like,
yeah, I mean, yes,
that's why, like, there's just if we see them again, there's no way we beat them a 3rd time.
It's like those Ravens Steelers rivalries where you'd see them twice.
I see every time I think of it, I just see Jamar Chase in the playoffs.
You know, they'd be thinking of that. Ravens will be thinking of that Tyler Huntley revenge game. I am so confident that the Bengals are not going to make the playoffs. That defense, in my opinion, is the worst defense in the league, which is so weird because Trey Hendrickson is so good. But everyone else is so bad.
Trey Hendrickson could and should win like defensive player of the year. Like he's having that type of season where he should be a top 3 in consideration.
Did you see the meme of the person who made the bye week Bengals thing where it's like bye week 50, Bengals 49, Joe Burrow 800 yards passing, Jamar Chase 450 yards receiving.
Unfortunately, that's how their seasons went. It's just literally what's so funny is if the Bengals are 7-5 with the exact same stats, like let's just reverse their thing, or 7-4, just reverse their win total, same exact stats on offense. It is like Jamar Chase runaway offensive player of the year. Joe Burrow's without a doubt. They're like 1, if not 2 for MVP, and Trey Hendrickson is top 2 in defense player of the year, but because they obviously haven't found ways, or these end of games have gone differently. Evan McPherson probably is worth 3 of their losses.
Yeah, I mean, okay. To ease the minds of everyone, mainly using, and I know you're going through it with this.
I'm nervous about
with this Bengals thing. Let me put this out here. Realistically, the highest seed Baltimore is going to get is 3, and the reason for that is obviously with Baltimore being 8-4. Buffalo would have to lose 2 games. Baltimore has the head-to-head, so if they lose 2 games, Baltimore flips them for 2.
Yeah.
The Bills' schedule is the 49ers, who just got boat raced by the Packers.
If Brandon Allen's playing that game, just
demolished. The Rams, who I think Buffalo, that's a toughish one, but I think Buffalo could win.
Where is it? Is it in LA?
Yes, in LA.
That's okay. Then they have.
So that's like a.
If that was in Buffalo, that would be a blowout.
Yeah. So that's like 60-40 ish. Me feeling somewhat good, somewhat not. Lions game, I think they lose. I think the Bills lose the Lions game. And then their last 3 games are New England, New York Jets, New England again. So
Jets beat them. New England wins 1.
I don't know if New England wins 1, but what I think will happen is Buffalo will flip Kansas City for the 1 with the head-to-head. I think Kansas City will be 2 because I don't think that they can continue winning games like this. Although I've said that for 3 months and they have, but I don't think they'll continue to win. I think Baltimore will be 3. I think Houston will be 4. Have the Steelers played the Chargers yet?
Yeah, Chargers beat them.
Chargers will be the 5.
Wait.
Are you looking it up?
Yeah, I want to make sure because I suddenly don't. No, Steelers beat Chargers.
Okay, so Steelers will be 5. Chargers will be 6. Broncos will be 7. Which means, of course, Ravens Chargers, M&T Bank Stadium is what I'm predicting on wildcard weekend. And then you have to go to Kansas City to play the Chiefs in the divisional.
Is it just necessary for John to go through Jim to win a Super Bowl?
That'd be electric. That path honestly reminds me of the Super Bowl year. In like a storybook game in the wild card round.
Gotta take out Jim. Gotta take out Patty. Gotta take out Allen in Buffalo.
Yeah. The only more like magical path if they went to the Super Bowl would be they get those Steelers demons out of the way. But I'm not trying to see that. I'm trying to go see him play Houston or play the Chargers.
Bring me Pittsburgh.
So even if the Bengals get the 7 seed, I think Baltimore, the highest they'll go is 3 and the lowest they'll go is 5.
Oh, but Bengals versus Bills would
it'd be Bengals versus Chiefs. Because I have Buffalo 1, Chiefs 2.
Oh.
So you'd go Los Angeles at M&T Bank Stadium, Chiefs at Arrowhead, and Buffalo Orchard Park.
Jeez.
They're gonna have to go through at least one, if not both, of Mahomes and Allen. So I don't think the Bills have the personnel to keep up with Baltimore offensively. So, like with their defense.
Yeah, I agree. Kevin, it's gonna be fun. This is gonna be a fun one.
Gonna be a good time. We got a couple of super chats to get to though.
Yep. Oh, yep.
Pocket watch testing. Look at that. We got them back. Appreciate your pocket watch.
Appreciate
for the $2, and then Joe coming in clutch. Appreciate you, man. Kevin versus Rocco and the beard off. Has Rocco ever had a beer before? Do we know?
No chance.
I mean, maybe there's a picture. Like maybe he tried one time.
There's no chance. Well, he might have tried. But
at least I'm willing to come on here and get roasted for it.
Thank you, Kevin. That's why I tip your cap to you.
At least I'm willing to. So yeah, super chats are back. Appreciate everybody who chooses to support us that way. And we got Thanksgiving coming up, and it's been crazy. We started this channel in June. Obviously,
end of July.
Oh yeah, because we started the reactions, and then it's been a journey. It's been a journey, but I mean, I know I speak for you too, Zach. We appreciate the community a lot here.
Yeah.
And, we built this up and we're continuing. We're getting back in the swing of things with off-season Orioles content. Obviously, we're here every Ravens game as the season goes on. And once the Orioles pick things up, we're going to be getting back into that as well. But it's exciting. We're doing more for Orioles stuff, short form, like 6, 8, 10, 12-minute videos, like not necessarily us going live for those, but putting out those videos for rumors, announcements, things of that nature. So we put out an Orioles coaching video. The Orioles announced their coaching staff today, or I guess technically yesterday.
Yeah.
And we're going to address another rumor that has popped up for the Orioles. So you can check those out. But it's been a really fun journey doing these. And I know it still feels weird not going live every day and doing doing like a game. Like we do the Ravens ones, obviously, and that's been awesome.
Yeah.
But
Kevin, before we get out of here, the one conversation I wanted to have with you. John Harbaugh, gutsy today. Works out. Love him or hate him. You can't come at him for today. Real fast, the 2-point conversion play. Go for 2, kick the extra point. Where are you?
I would have gone for it. I agree with the decision to go for it.
You completely take over that game if you get that.
Yep. There's no way with JK out and the defense playing the way that they were. I mean, there's no way the Chargers come back from 2 possessions down. And I felt when Hill scored the touchdown to kind of seal it, I was like, okay, there's no I didn't feel like there was a way Los Angeles was coming back. So going up 2 possessions, I thought was the correct way to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And even if you don't get it like they didn't, you're still up a touchdown.
Yeah, exactly. And Joe, I think I'm going to start just, Kevin, I don't know if you do. Just if the Terps, I've been watching a lot of Terps basketball recently. If they have a big game, I might come on here for a reaction. We'll see.
Apparently, Derek Queen is baby Jokic.
Dude, he's insane.
Which is not, first of all, Derek Queen's a stud, but we're not going to go out there, the Nuggets guy, comparing anybody to Jokic, okay? And by the way, the Nuggets lost by like almost 40 tonight to the Knicks. Like they gave up 150. Like it was really bad.
Oh shit.
Yeah, it was really.
Nice.
They're not good. Their bench is awful, and Jamal is taking a nose down.
Russell Westbrook didn't solve the bench issues.
Russell's been good. Russell's actually been good for them this season, relatively to what he's been used to, right?
I'll give it to you.
It's true. You can look up the stats. He's actually like their 3rd best 3-point shooter this year, which I guess is more of an indictment on how bad they've been from 3. But
yeah. But Kevin, anything else you want to end on?
Well, apparently I didn't know this. British Raven. I don't know what time it is over there right now, man. You are a trooper.
6:10 in the morning.
Oh my god. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's the time I go to bed, so it's not really. I can't. Although I'm sick, so I have to go to bed earlier. That's why I'm very glad they didn't play on Sunday, because with me, the flu and having that whole situation. Because Zach, when I was sick last year, my fever was what, like 102.7 or something, like 102.6. Like I've never had a 103 fever. I almost had to go to the hospital, because once you get to 103, like that's like you got to go to the hospital. Like that's bad. So I'm glad they didn't play on Sunday because I was out of it. But British Raven, man, absolute trooper.
Yeah.
Trooper. But giving us updates. I didn't even know this. Charlie Kohler seen in a sling after the game. It's not great. It's not good. No. And plus, the other underrated aspect of this, I want to make sure that people do. I know it's going to be talked about, but I want to get ahead of it for everybody. This is a short week for the Ravens.
Mm-hmm.
This is a short week.
Yeah.
Eagles have the rest advantage here.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to have to be on their extra A game.
Oh, had his right wrist wrap too. Hopefully, Charlie, because he's a guy who's just been taking over. Weirdly enough, man, remember week 1, Isaiah Likely was the greatest tight end in NFL history?
I do. No catches tonight. Actually, I want to leave with this. Do you know Quentin Johnston's stats tonight?
4 targets, 0 catches.
5 targets, 0 catches.
5 targets. He ended up getting
5 targets.
A lot of slander coming from here. There's a lot of slander talk around in the chat.
Let's go. The truth is out.
Just, but Quentin Johnson, that's an unfortunate stat line. It got to the point where it was like The first one missed. It was just a miss. Then it was like dropping. I was like, Quentin Johnson. Then there was the second drop, and I'm like, oh, yeah. And then the third drop, I was like, I feel bad for him.
He got
I was
the,
like,
the
this
first one got in his head. He knew how big it was, and he got in his head.
Yeah, it got
Because that was a huge issue for him his rookie year. Like that was the whole story with him, and I think he had finally gotten over it. And I think this kind of set him back. He's had a good year for them. Like, he's had a resurgent year for them.
As a Quentin Johnson fantasy owner, I've only started him a few times because he has been a project, but he's been having good games. I mean, he's a big play threat. It's just unfortunate.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that's going to do it, though, for us. The Baltimore Ravens walk out of Los Angeles with a 30-23 win. John Harbaugh moves to 3-0 over little brother Jim. Just another great day. Victory Tuesday, as it is 1:13 in the morning. But where else would you rather be than here? Ravens walk away. Derrick Henry dominates on the ground. Lamar does his thing. Defense steps up. We'll be back later after next week's game against the Philadelphia Eagles. Short videos out on the channel. We talked about the coaching, I guess, changes for the Orioles. And then tomorrow we have some rumor stuff coming out. So be on the lookout for that. But that'll do it for this edition of Kevin and Zach React. Hit that like and subscribe button if you enjoy. And we'll see you next time. Chewies.